welcome to Race Kikis with Jonathan Lee. Today, I wanted to have a conversation with a straight white guy. So I reached out to my friend Cory, and I just want to have a conversation. Let's see where it goes. Hey, Cory, this is Jonathan, and welcome to Race Kikis with Jonathan Lee.
Thank you for having me, Jonathan. Good to see you.
You sound so fake. All right. So
this is terrible. Start it over. I already don't like it. Start it over. God damn it.
How you been?
Good. Yeah, no complaints. How about you?
In my personal life, I've been fantastic. Outside of my apartment, it's been a shit show, but that's neither here nor there. At the current moment, my mom and my stepdad are battling COVID, but I think they're asymptomatic at the moment. So we have very high hopes.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I feel very positive that they're going to pull through it. My mom's been a nurse for like 30 years. Well, retired. So I'm very confident that they will be okay.
That's good. I wish them well.
Thank you.
And Scott's good?
Scott's all right. He's been actually mad busy since this all started. He's been doing an incredible amount of commissioned art, and he's been he's in 3 different web series doing voices and artwork, and doing a couple of pitches for Nickelodeon and other things with friends.
That's amazing.
So he is incredibly busy.
It's fortunate to be busy during these times, man.
And I found myself to be incredibly busy about talking about race. That's all I've been doing for about, I think we're going into our 7th month, right after George Floyd's murder. Mm-hmm. I went down to Asbury with some friends of mine, and the way I was treated there, it was horrible. I was going deep in the middle of Trump country with my white boyfriend and my white friends, going out to all of these white places, and I'm the only black face I see. And what I was met with was such animosity and such hostility, but in that white, polite way. You know the way.
Of course. Just all microaggressions and kind of, the blatant stuff.
Yeah. And
I'm sorry, discreet stuff.
Yeah, it was it's that, oh, it's so nice that you're here. Okay, I know I can read through that. I know that you don't think I should be here, but that's okay. Here's some money anyway. And when we were driving back to the city, my friend Michael and I started having this conversation, and I'm like, I need to understand why. We're in 2020 at the time. We're in 2020, and I don't understand why all of you white fellas still believe such dumb shit. Mm-hmm. I'm so confused by it. So I'm gonna ask you the one question I've been asking everyone else. When did you learn about race?
I would say my early on stuff about race was basically, as far as being a kid and parenting goes, being racist is bad. Don't treat anybody who doesn't look like you different. Obviously, never say any derogatory things to outside groups. And that was basically it, as far as what my parents told me and what I thought it was. And even, even living in Boston before I moved to New York, so it's almost 10 years ago, I'm like, damn, this city is so white. Mm-hmm. It was like really in my face white. And you could say very simple-minded people, like they're all kind of from the surrounding area. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of part of the reason I always knew I wanted to come to New York, But in my head, I'm like, I'm going to move to New York and it's going to be completely different from this, right? It's, 8 million people, lots of diversity. It's totally mixed. And that was so naive of me because even 2 months in, I'm checking out bars, I'm kind of figuring out places to go. These are all white spaces that I'm in. Yeah, sure. There's definitely more diversity there than there is in Boston, but there's still a lot of white spaces and there's got to be reasons behind that. And, as far as, it's really sad to say, but I didn't take a closer look into like modern day or like present day racism the last couple of years, and even in mostly within the last 2 years, so, and this is because I actually believed for my whole life that racism was almost gone. Like it's pretty much done, right? Yeah, of course, there's going to be like middle America where like people are very traditional and they're going to be racist forever, but not in a metropolitan city. No. Everybody here gets it that that's wrong and nobody's truly racist here with the exception of a couple people. Racism is purely an individual thing. This person is either here on this side or they're on this side. Racist, not racist. That's it.
That was always because of the what we considered racist were the blatant, like burning crosses, nooses, using the N-word, all of that thing. What we failed to see was the one thing that you never said. Again, it's a running answer with people I ask that question. When I asked, when did you learn about race? You never count whiteness as a race. So the minute you start learning about race, you start learning about people that are other than you. And when you start othering people, it's an us against them.
Yep.
So what's that all about? That's a whole nother rabbit hole. So what happened a couple of years ago that caused you to look at race?
And I think I speak for the majority of white people who grow up with white privilege, that a lot of the reason you never bother to learn more about what racism truly is in modern day is because you don't have to, right? Yeah. You can live your whole life pretty easily.
Yeah, you can live your whole life in your white experience, and you can move to New York and say you want to experience diversity and go from one white space to another completely different white space in a completely different city. You will get diversity with a bunch of people who look and act and think like you, but they may have an accent, and diversity. Or they may be from the other side of the country, diversity. That's not exactly what that is, but sure. But that is by design.
Of course.
Yeah, it's all been by design.
100%. And, my point being that because it's by design, it's sad, but unless someone approaches you that you're close or you care about what they think enough, they say, Cory, you really need to learn more about this. You really need to have a better understanding what racism really is. And you'll just continue living your life in whiteness and not truly understanding what people of color are going through. And it, again, sadly took me until I got into an interracial relationship where it became more personal to me. And having someone that I could talk to daily about these kinds of things and really get a true perspective, not reading it in an article, not seeing it on TV, but saying, I had this experience today and I believe it would be very different if I were white. And then you start reconsidering, because then it becomes personal. And that's a that's extremely problematic, right? Because the majority of relationships are not interracial, right? There's plenty of them, but it's like most white people have mostly white friends, and most white people date other or marry other white people. So then you're insulated by all that whiteness, and you never truly get this perspective where it's personal enough. We all could say racism is bad. Oh, that's, what are you going to do? But then when somebody very closely, or someone who's very close to you, you can see hurting from it, it makes you motivated to learn more about it. And it shouldn't take that, but that's sadly often the way it goes.
So when you got into this relationship with your fantastic, beautiful girlfriend, did you notice differences in the people that you associated with?
That she associated with?
That you associated with?
As far as their reaction to me being in an interracial relationship?
Or their reactions to her, their conversations with her, or anything like that?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I have, it's weird, right? Because I grew up in Connecticut, and I would say the majority of those friends have a little bit of an idea, but not nearly enough, right? They grew up in a very white space. And then I kind of developed a new set of friends since I moved to New York who do have a better understanding of racism. So it was kind of around the same time that I was building that friend group that I got into this relationship. So I felt like with my friends here, I didn't notice like a whole lot of, you're kind of waiting for it, right? Like, oh, is this person going to act different than they would if she wasn't around? Right? And I would say the majority of them do not act different. But in the few instances where we were in Connecticut, I feel like my friends that I grew up with did. They definitely did.
What'd you do then? How'd you handle that?
Well, I mean, this is going back at the very, very beginning. And to be honest, like very early on in my education on racism, right? So I was very ignorant and naive as well. Just in terms of like, I didn't notice things the same way I do now. Somebody that I grew up with said something very insensitive to my lady within like the first 2 months that we were together. And, I got very upset with him and we left. But I didn't, I'll be honest, I did not completely cut ties with him or anything. And I don't really talk to him much now, but I never went too far beyond like that. You know what I mean? I didn't reprimand him the way I should have. It's so long ago, I could now, but it'd be a little weird. Whereas now I'm so hypersensitive to it that I'm kind of always seeking out these things. And, my reaction probably would have been a lot different had I been more educated on it.
I know that when Scott and I first started dating almost 3 years ago, we've had not one single problem in the city.
Right.
When we leave the city, when we go strangely enough, when we went to Mississippi, delightful. We were a novelty. Everyone wanted to talk to us. Everyone wanted to take a picture. Everyone wanted us to come visit. Everyone. It was wonderful. I felt like I was on tour. But then when we went to Florida, we went to Florida for a wedding, and his sister's wedding was fantastic. It was beautiful. His sister is so lovely, so charming. His family is fantastic. When we went to Amelia Island, and the island, I was the only Black person on the entire island. And it was quite obvious that it was not a place that I should be. Every place we walked inside of. And when I was with Scott, I saw the ways that the other people in the room were looking at him. Mm-hmm. And it was the most confusing thing, because I don't get what's up with, well, I'm going to call it how I call it. I don't get what's up with straight white guys so concerned with what's going on in my bedroom. I don't understand it. Mm-hmm. So, straight white friend of mine, what up with that?
Yeah.
What up with that?
Well, that's like twofold, right? So you have racism and homophobia, right?
Yeah.
Is our, like, I believe there's two things.
That's exactly what it was.
It's like a conservative white dude's worst, I'm assuming I can't swear, effing nightmare.
You absolutely can.
Oh, worst nightmare for a conservative white dude, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, listen, this country, the racism is so ingrained in the culture. It's almost like rare. It's like rare for straight white men not to be that way, which is fucked up, right? So there are already, I wouldn't say, I would almost say like homophobia is lessened more than like racism has, right? To a certain degree, depending on who you ask. But I think it's the same with all this kind of shit, right? Like as soon as they see something that doesn't align with their values and their beliefs, it's problematic for them, and they can't help not to stare.
But aren't these the same gentlemen who say, well, this is the way my mama raised me, this is the way my daddy raised me, and you're 37, you're 47 years old, if you're still living your life the way that your parents raised you at 37, that means that you haven't chosen to evolve past that.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to be impressed by that? I'm confused. I don't understand. Like, okay, so I was glued to the television yesterday during the white nationalist brouhaha. Right. And I don't get what they're angry about. I don't understand, because if they're talking about the taxes that Biden is going to do, I can guarantee you none of them make over $400,000 a year.
Yep.
I can guarantee you that you don't have health care. So so you're not going to be affected by the taxes. You don't have health care. You don't have jobs. You're living paycheck to paycheck. And you think Trump is going to be I don't understand.
It's a cult-like mentality, right? Mm-hmm. Like anything rational goes out the window. This is our leader. He's, let's go back to when he first got elected. He's outspoken. He's saying all the racist things that
I say at home. He says all the shit that I'm saying at my house with all my hillbilly friends.
Yep.
And so now this idiot is supposed to now be smart enough to lead the country. Are you serious? Almost 400,000 people are dead. And the minute he gets out of office, and then we peel all this onion back and we see how much money he's raped the American people for, and we call you.
He could do 3 times the damage that he's done, and those people that you're describing will still be loyal to him.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't either, but I think it's so intertwined with back to what you were saying, like this, my mama raised me this way, it's traditional, things are just the way they are, I can't explain them, but that's just how things are. Like you can't have an open mind for any kind of change, anything that's better. Like, yeah, we'll sacrifice civil rights, we'll sacrifice what really fucking hurts people economically to the point or health-wise where it kills them, because we got to uphold tradition. We got to be all American. Don't get me started. I talk about this shit all the time, man. It drives me insane.
I know.
You can't, I'm always like, thankfully, I don't run into people to the degree that you see on TV, but I occasionally cross someone who doesn't, who is conservative or voted for Trump at least the first time. And I'm like, I get it. I can't change the world at all by having the conversation with someone, but I'm trying really hard to not immediately dismiss them and be like, let's try to talk a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like, even if I could get one point across, just one, like that would make me, it won't make me happy, but like, it'll make me something. And it's fucking impossible to talk to most of them.
I was in a conversation with a gay white Trump supporter.
Oh my God.
And he was defending the cops involved in the George Floyd execution. And he kept taking me to task about using the word execution. And he says, he was just trying to do his job. I was like, no, that was an execution. Yep. He was guilty. He is not a judge. Well, you don't know what he did before that. I was like, neither do you. I don't understand well, you know how they are. You mean me? You mean you know how we are? Oh, you're not like that. What makes me different?
Right.
What makes me different than that man?
Right. Oh, no, but you're not one of those Black people. You're different, Jonathan, which is even more insulting than just saying that, right? It's horrifying. I know that drives me absolutely bananas. It's always, oh, well, we looked into his history and it turns out he wasn't such a great guy. I don't fucking care. He didn't deserve to die. There's a lot of people who have done bad things in their life. Nobody deserves to be executed
on the street
by
someone who claims that their life was in danger. Are you kidding me? You carry a taser, you carry a nightstick, you carry all of these things, but you could shoot in the hand, you could shoot in the knee, but no, you go right for the head or the heart. That doesn't make any sense, because the minute our country was founded, we as Black people have never actually been free. Nope. We're free now, and it has taken 50 some odd years since Jim Crow. 65, about 50 some, 60 some odd years, somewhere in there. And at this point, as I've shared my mother shared with me, she says, well, y'all Black people aren't like the Black people back in my day, baby. Y'all aren't gonna take this mess anymore. I was like, no, I can't take it anymore. I don't understand why so many people still believe such stupid things.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think that white guys are scared of losing your supremacy?
Yes, but I don't think they even look at it that way.
What do you mean?
I think most white people don't even recognize white supremacy to know that that's what they're protecting. Like even again, back to the same example, it's almost like being pro-black is like anti-white.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So then it's like, as soon as you start saying, what happened to George Floyd was terrible and those cops need to be held accountable, there's all these, well, what about this? And what, oh, but he wasn't a good man and the cop was doing his job or whatever it is. It's like, why are you so defensive? And I think it's because they feel like it's a team. I'm on team white. You're in team black, and if I say, that cop was totally wrong, then like almost I'm incriminated by association of being white.
Yes.
That's insane.
Yes.
That's insane. Just like when it's, just like this white person doesn't represent all white people necessarily, well, depending on what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And this black person doesn't represent all black people. Just like, oh, but what about Candace Owens? It's like, she does not speak on behalf of all black people.
She doesn't. She barely speaks on the behalf of herself because she, my friend, is a puppet.
It's like, oh, but there's black cops that have, or there's, one black person who kills another black person. This is not representative of the entire group of black people. Like, that's not how it works.
If we think about the way crime actually works, it generally works in neighborhoods, right? Mm-hmm. So if you have black people living in a neighborhood with black people, there will be black people doing crime against black people. White people living in neighborhoods with white people, they commit crimes generally against white people. Mm-hmm. So they focus on black crime because it happens generally in poverty-stricken neighborhoods. But then you ask a question, why is that neighborhood poor?
Right.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what is the educational system like in that particular neighborhood. Yep. Let's talk about what the drug treatment is like in that neighborhood. Let's talk about what the social services are like in that neighborhood. Let's talk about the infrastructure of that neighborhood compared to this less dangerous neighborhood.
Right. Well, then I know we were texting about a couple books. I don't know. Did you read We Were 8 Years in Power?
I did not.
I think I got it over here. Give me one moment.
Sure.
Well, I don't want to screw up your video taking too time looking for my book, but basically, it goes into the whole, exactly what you're saying, how there's these studies that were like, oh, all the crime happens in black neighborhoods and the black and poor neighborhoods. But then there was another study that he referred to that basically said the correlation is 100% to do with the, the median income within those households. He referred to black wealthier neighborhoods where there's no crime.
Exactly.
Right? Mm-hmm. Because when you have everything you need and you have resources, you have infrastructure, you have money, you have all the things you need, education, then there's no crime because there's not a reason for it.
Unless you're greedy. Unless it's greed. And then we're not even ever focusing on the white collar crime that happens. We're never talking about, okay, we may talk about Tyrone who goes and robs a liquor store. Well, what about Chet who robs a mutual fund and takes everybody's pensions? What about that?
Mm-hmm. And to add fuel to the fires, so you not only do you have these neighborhoods that have been deprived of all resources, which naturally crime occurs,
Mm-hmm.
but because they're predominantly Black and people of color, they're overly targeted, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you have way more police, way more profiling. Yeah, of course, arrests are going to be up in these neighborhoods when you add those two components together.
And then to add to the narrative of that, to add to the narrative of the dangerous Black skin, you send the newscasters there and they sensationalize whatever has gone on. And then whomever is involved, they do a deep dive. They paint this neighborhood as the one of the most dangerous or what have you. So whenever someone like me is walking down the street, there's the clenched purses, there's the crossing of the street, there's the, you know how they are, oh, you speak better than I would expect you, or so on and so forth.
Yep.
Yeah. So
and I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Go.
No, I was just going to say, back to your very first question of racism. We're seeing this on TV at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
If you grow up in a home where your parents are watching the news every single morning before you go to school, and the news loves putting on all the criminal acts that have happened in the last couple of days, mm-hmm. and all the people that are convicted or accused have Black skin, what mm-hmm. message does that send them?
And when you overhear, your parents are just, that should have happened. And they're just reacting like you would when you see a criminal story. Because when I see criminal stories, I say, oh my God, please don't let him be Black. Please don't let him be Black. Please don't. Oh, good, it's a white guy. And that makes me feel better. But it just makes me feel better.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all. I mean, it's, again, like we grow up in America where you see that on TV. Mm-hmm. There's Black people are so underrepresented in big Hollywood films, TV shows, any kind of leadership roles, teachers in the schools, predominantly white, all these things. And again, nobody's saying this is racist. This is this way because it's racist. Over time, you're going to assume, like you said, us and the other, mm-hmm. us and them. Mm-hmm. There's got to be something cultural going on there. Mm-hmm. It's cultural. It's not, they had the same opportunity I had, but they choose to go to crime. They choose to not have these jobs. They choose to not be in leadership. They choose to not go into Hollywood. Nobody's explaining that.
And then what further cements that, when you see all of these movies, these commercials, the heroes most often look like you. Mm-hmm. Usually they're white men. They're usually white men that save the day, white men that come up with all the answers, white men that are leading the charge, white men who are conquering, white men who are saving, white men who are rescuing, white men who are enslaving, white men who are dominating, white men who are. Mm-hmm. And beside him is this beautiful white woman who is only beautiful through the eyes of this white man. So that makes the white woman feel like, well, I'm only beautiful if this white man thinks I'm beautiful. Mm-hmm. And that has translated so to Latin women, to Asian women, to it's just, I don't feel beautiful unless I can attract the white gaze. Right. Mm-hmm. Because that is the gold standard. Because white men decided it was.
Right. It's the validation, right? It's the same as, I mean, it goes for, you know, other cultures or even people of Indian descent or any shades of brown. It's like, I'm going to kind of associate myself with this white crowd because then I kind of get a little bit of that privilege of being associated with them. I get the validation from them. If I get validation from them, that means I'm up here. But if I decide to go the other way with the Black community, well, then I'm going to be associated with all the bad things that they have to do.
I am less than. Because I am not being looked at through the eyes of whiteness.
Right.
And if I want to succeed, I have to do it through the lens of whiteness.
Right. Which honestly, to the beauty thing, which is fucking hilarious because white women spend thousands and thousands of dollars to, you know, make their modification of their body, their style, their eyes, their lips, their all these things to mimic Black women, and with the exception of changing the color of their skin.
And they're applauded for it.
Right.
They're applauded. Oh my God, she's so beautiful. Look how beautiful she is. Couldn't she have also been beautiful with the lips she was born with? I'm not saying that you cannot have plastic surgery. Do whatever the hell you want to. However, why are you augmenting yourself to look like something that you have deemed lesser than?
I mean, listen, if you want to get plastic surgery to make your body mimic that of a Black woman's because you find that beautiful, go for it. But you better fucking represent them and you better fight for them. You better show up for racism and at least give them like the credit that they deserve, and not just stand on the sidelines and be like, no, I'm just gonna take what I want from it. This makes me look good, but no, it's same thing. No, but I'm not gonna associate with all that bad stuff. No, I don't want any of that. I just want this good part of it.
I just want the good part of the Black. I want the part of the Black where I can make money from it. And then I can monetize that. And then I'm still better. I'm still fabulous. I'm still everything. But don't forget, I'm still white.
Right. Oh, the Kardashians. Oh, box braids. That's so creative. Bitch, those are cornrows. Those have been around forever. Give a little credit. Like, it's absurd, dude. It's crazy. And I'm telling you right now, like 1% recognizes that. And that's a problem. I mean, thankfully, for the worst reasons ever, but thankfully there's way more emphasis on this stuff now than there's ever been. But it's scary to think like the momentum, I pray, like really picks up where it just becomes normalized to the fact where everybody's kind of questioning that appropriation. Everybody's questioning the racism and everything because it's so geniusly disguised in every single thing that we do, everything that we say, everything in the media, that it just flies so comfortably under the radar for all white people that it's like, and by the way, when I say all this stuff, I know I'm not exempt from like all of that, and I'm guilty of all of it, but I'm just saying I've actively tried to understand it a little bit more, and most are not doing that to the same point that I haven't most of my life because I didn't have to.
And now you've been given a reason.
Well, again, I'm embarrassed to admit that that's what got me initially into it. But I do genuinely say that is not why it's not the only reason why I care about it now. Because you have to understand it. You have to really understand it enough where you're like, no, it's not because I have a lot of Black friends. It's not because I date someone who's Black. it's because it's fucking wrong.
It's just wrong.
It's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That is the reason why. And that's why it's like, it's very frustrating, because it's like, if you're in an interracial relationship, it's like, oh yeah, I could see why he's doing that, because, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's in an interracial relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But if he wasn't, then like, why would he bother? Because that's so much work. Like, why would he bother with all these things? So that's the reason why. And it's like, no, it's because it's fucking wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And you ignoring that it's wrong is fucking wrong.
Because that makes you complacent.
Exactly.
Yeah. You ignoring it when you know it's wrong, and you choose to actively ignore it, you are greenlighting it.
Right.
And yeah, that's what I have to say about that. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a beer. I'm an IPA guy. Shocking Williamsburg guy.
Yeah, mind blowing. I'm doing tequila and mango juice.
Oh my God. That is my jam. Tequila and mezcal are by far my favorite, and I love mango juice. That's
I don't like mezcal. It's too smoky for me.
Yeah, well, and it's like the same. Smoky stuff is the same with truffle stuff. You're in or you're out. Nobody likes truffle a little bit. Nobody likes smoky stuff a little bit.
Yeah, I don't like mezcal, but I will enjoy a truffle.
I like it all.
Yeah.
But one more small point I would like to say is, again, I do try to believe, I do believe that most people want to be good people. Mm-hmm. They want to better themselves. They want to be good to others. The majority. I truly do believe that. I know there's some evil motherfuckers out there that'll just always be that way. But I think that people want to do better throughout life, especially when they get older. I think the most problematic thing is most of us are so uneducated in how bad and real this stuff is. Mm-hmm. And there's no, until it becomes part of a elementary and high school curriculum to teach about real racism, not just the Emancipation Proclamation. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be so slow, because what's the motivation? Who's really gonna teach you what it's really about, unless you decide on your own, mm-hmm. as a white person, I want to learn more about this, because it's going to take that education for you to actually care enough to do something about it.
I personally think that what's preventing a lot of white people from doing it is they don't see the need for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't, absolutely. They see it that there's absolutely no need for me to do this. It's not going to affect my life one way or the other, because I don't know any Black people. I don't know any Asian people. I don't know any Latin people. So what does it matter?
No, it's so true. Mm-hmm. I read another book, Me and White Supremacy. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the first pages, it was like, this is going to be a lifetime of work. It'll never end. It's not like, oh, I just have to do I have to read these couple of books, do these couple of things, and mm-hmm. then I'm good. I did it. I'm not racist now, and I'm good. It's like, no, it's a lifelong thing. It's very unrewarding. That's a powerful thing, right? Like, people, when they work towards something, they're like, oh, now I earn my stripes. Mm-hmm. Now things are better. Look at everything I did from all the work I did. It's a ton of work and very incremental gain. and almost no reward, right? So I think if you apply that to anything, right? Anything, most people would be like, well, why would I do that?
Why would I do that? That sounds awful.
Right.
But I knew all of that. I believe all of that. And yet I still have no other choice but to do it. I have no choice. I have no other choice but to. I'm just trying to figure out what this is all about. Mm-hmm. And I want to. Strangely enough, when I started this project, I reached out to a couple of friends and I was like, hey, want to talk to me about race? Like, what does that even sound like? I was like, I don't know. Let's just talk. I want to talk.
Yeah.
And it's becoming incredibly cathartic to have these kinds of conversations because I'm trying to understand. And I can't use my own point of view, even though I have an incredible one, without getting different points of view from people in my life. I just want to understand what you know, what you see, if you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing, if you understand something different because you have a completely different point of view or point of vision than I do.
Right.
Because you look through your eyes from a place of privilege. Mm-hmm. You're top of the food chain, straight white guy. Good for you. You won the genetic lottery. Exactly. And you're thinking, so what the fuck does that mean? And I say to you, are we any different? Mm-hmm. You want and dream and hope and wish and love the same way I do. Well, you get it. And I want nothing more than to see you happy and to thrive in your life. That will not take anything away from my success or my happiness. Right. And I'm assured that after all of these years of us knowing each other, you would want the same for me.
100%.
See how that works?
Yeah.
Easy, breezy, beautiful. Cover girl.
Cover girl. Love it, man. But I think again, it's just so geniusly covered up. It's so geniusly ingrained into the culture that if it were so blatant, it would be easy. I'm not making any excuses, by the way. I'm just saying, like, this is the way I see why it is the way it is. I think to the majority of the white community, there's no problem to be solved. It's just like, oh, just do what I did, like, I'm happy. Why can't you be happy? Why can't you just do exactly what I did? And they're not seeing how unbelievably privileged they are in that situation. Like all the things that they never have to think about. Oh, was that person not nice to me because the color of my skin? Or, oh, did I not get this approval? Did I not get,
Did I not get this loan? Did I not get accepted to this college? Did I not get this job? Did I not get this interview because of my name?
It's a privilege to never think about
it. Did I just get pulled over because I was black? Did I get followed around the store? That's something you never have to think about.
Never. And it's, I'm telling you, like, right, like recently after George Floyd was murdered, I wasn't working at the time because everything was on halt, and I was going to a bunch of protests, and I talked to one of my clients who I didn't realize was very conservative until I started talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
And it came up that I was at a protest, and he was kind of like, why were you at a protest? Have you ever been subjected to police brutality? And I said, no, because I'm white. And he was very confused by that. He said, well, hold on, but I get it. There's so stereotypical. I know there's a couple bad apples out there, but do you really believe that police officers are targeting people of color and brutalizing them? I said, yes.
Yes, absolutely.
I absolutely 100% believe that.
Absolutely.
100%. And and it started, this was a weird conversation, right? This is like a big client. We won't talk about what I do. And
no, don't worry. It
was weird. And no more than an hour later, I was near that client and another person that he works with who's of color. And I said to him, I said, listen, I know there's a lot of terrible things happening right now with George Floyd and everything else. I know these are not new at all, but just much more in the media now. And are you okay? Like, I just want to let you know. And I don't know him super well, but I did it lightly enough that I just said, I realize what's going on. I hear you, I see you. And I'm, I want to, if you want to talk or anything, let me know. And he actually was very receptive to it. And he said, listen, it's crazy what's going on right now. I realize, I agree, it's not anything new. I also don't think that all cops are bad, but this gentleman also drives Uber on the side, like a second job. Mm-hmm. And he said, I have a pretty nice car. He's like, I got a whatever series BMW. Do you have any idea how many times I've been pulled over for absolutely no reason? Mm-hmm. And he said, I can't even count how many times I got pulled over for no reason. And the police officer asked for my license and registration. He's holding them. And he says, is this your car? Mm-hmm. And very politely, of course, says, officer, you're holding my driver's license and registration. This is obviously my car. Mm-hmm. And he said, I can't even count how many times that's happened. And it's happened so many times, even when I'm not working and I'm driving to the gym, I said, okay, I'm going to start walking to the gym. And he said, one day I was walking to the gym and there were a couple police officers on foot. And one of them says, hey, do I know you? I feel like I arrested you once before. Mm-hmm. I said, officer, I've never been arrested in my life. You mm-hmm. sure? And he said, after that, I don't go to the gym anymore. He said, I just lay in my bed. And I know this, again, nothing new. I know a million people have experienced the same thing, but it was heartbreaking to hear that from somebody that I work side by side with. Sometimes we don't work for the same company, but I see him a lot. And I couldn't help myself. So later in the day, I saw that same client and I chased him down the hall. And I had to be, unfortunately, very, calm in the way I presented myself. I said, hey, I just want to let you know, I appreciate our conversation that we had earlier because I think it's important to talk about these things. But I just want to let you know the conversation that I had with our mutual person. And this is what he said. And when I told him that, he turned whiter than he already was. Mm-hmm. And you could tell it's like, oh, but now it's personal, right? It's somebody you know. Mm-hmm. That's terrible. And then, of course, it's like, well, I believe in police reform and all these bullshit things that don't actually change anything.
Backpedaling.
Yeah, we need to change. Like, that doesn't make you feel bad. Like it's not just somebody in the news. It's not just a story you read in a book. It's somebody that you see every day, and he's just one of millions of people who experience that all the time. And you should really, really think about that and not just say, yeah, well, as soon as they do police reform, everything will be fine. It's not going to be fine.
It's not going to be fine.
No.
Nope. And if you ever want to see what white supremacy actually looks like, you'll see how the riot was handled yesterday.
They let them right in.
They
rolled
let
out
them
red carpet.
right in. They were taking pictures with them.
Selfies. They were, when peaceful Black Lives Matter protesting was going out there, they had the National Guard out there with machine guns ready to go.
Tear gas, rubber bullets, did everything except water hoses and dogs. They did everything but that. But yet you have a bunch of good old boys out there and nothing.
If that crowd was Black Lives Matter, it would have all been murdered.
I know.
No question.
None at all. And every pundit that I've been listening to since then, it's like, y'all see the difference, right? You see the difference, right? Like Poppy Harlow is so exhausted, she had to take the day off. Her eyebrows were so exhausted, she had to take the day off. But I'm hopeful that going forward, we can't go back to where we were. That is a system that only works for one group of people.
Mm-hmm.
And secondarily, whomever that one other, that a group, whomever they're sleeping with, that's who secondarily benefits from that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That doesn't work. No. For if we were such a wealthy nation, during a pandemic, people wouldn't be waiting in food lines for hours and hours and hours on end. If we were such a wealthy nation, if we were so great to one another, mm-hmm. we wouldn't be here. Our nation has no soul. It is only concerned with money and profit. Mm-hmm. It is only concerned with power, mm-hmm. at the expense of everyone except the person in power. And whatever the sycophants are sucking around, and whatever tertiary people who are supplying those people. So it's like a giant pyramid scheme, much like Trump steaks. He owned a steak company for a while.
Oh, really?
Yes, he did, along with the university.
You guys fucking stole this land in the first place.
Yes, I know.
This is ours, and we're gonna completely create this hierarchy because I don't know, there's more people who look like me than there is that look like you. So we'll just do that.
There weren't though. No,
as the wealth comes in, we'll reinvest it in our sector.
And then let's come over. Oh, look, there are people here. Let's give you polio, and let's murder you. Let's kill off, Buffalo Bill. You know why he became famous? He shot over 4,000 buffalo. You know why he did that? To get rid of the indigenous people that were there, because they followed the buffalo. And at the time, you know who actually did the scalping? It was the white soldiers, not the Native Americans, because the government was paying the white soldiers for the scalps of Native Americans. Gross.
It's gross.
Gross.
It's really gross.
Good old America.
It is.
All right, Cory. Thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Fun. It was fun. It's nice to see you.
It's nice to see you too. We're going to have to do this again soon, and maybe after we get the vaccine, we'll hang out in person, have a drink. The four of us will go out.
I'd like that.
I'd like it as well.